All right, so you're dancing West Coast swing and you're struggling with how to remember your patterns. So maybe you're a beginner and you're just struggling how to remember all your beginner patterns, or maybe you've moved to like the intermediate side of things and you're learning more complex patterns and you're forgetting them. So in this video, Megan and I are going to talk through this in a couple of different ways. And how do we come up with this topic, Miss Megan?
We have had, over the years, many different emails about it, but recently we had one, and I explained my way of doing it, and he said there wasn't a video on it.
Yeah, so we've talked about this a couple different times, but talk us through, I don't know if you want to dance, how do you want to explain your...
I'll explain first. So, what I tell my leaders is, if they're really basic and they don't know any more advanced patterns, I tell them take 2 or 3 of their basic patterns, dance those until they're comfortable. Trust me, followers do not care too much that you're not doing, really cool stuff. If you're on time and you don't pull on us, we're happy.
And if I can jump in and say that to the leaders, one of the fears that I had when I started was I don't know enough patterns and I'm going to bore people. And the followers are dancing with lots of different people. So you might be bored dancing your 3 moves all night long at this point, but the followers are dancing my 3 moves and Chris's 3 moves and this person's 3 moves. So they're not going to get bored of our pattern. So don't worry about that at all.
Actually, so when, leaders, you get bored of your 3 basic patterns, that's a good time to go, okay, I am able to add 2 to 3 more patterns. So maybe you just learned your next 3 set of patterns that you need, and so add those and make them comfortable. If you have moved into the more intermediate-ish level, I tell you to take your basic patterns. Obviously, you don't have to think quite as hard about those, and then add 2 to 3 more advanced patterns that you do have to think about and remember. And then make sure that you dance those in amongst your basic patterns and then get comfortable with that. When you're comfortable, add 2 to 3 more, or maybe even 1 to 2 more, up to you. And then the process just keeps going.
And do you do this through all of the basic patterns? Like how many patterns do you think do your students get to before you feel like they're comfortable to like move to intermediate and stuff like that?
How many patterns do they know before
do you go through that process
to move to intermediate?
Through all of the beginner patterns till you can remember all of your beginner patterns comfortably? I think that'd be a good metric.
That would be a very good thing to do. Do people do it? No.
Yeah, so you want to make sure that in the beginning, and we're going to get to, and when I kind of jump in with my strategies, we're going to be talking about more intermediate patterns, and when you're learning lots of moves at workshops and intermediate classes, how to remember those and sort them out so you don't forget them and you can use them. But you basically want to be super comfortable and you don't have to think about your push, your passes, your whips, maybe your tucks, maybe your sugar tuck, all of these patterns, right? So where you can dance, obviously, your sugar pushes, your passes, both left and right side pass, right? So there's 3 basic branches of the tree, the pushes, the passes, and then your whips. And then if I'm thinking push, then I have a sugar tuck, which is off of a push, right? And then I have off of a left side pass, I have an inside turn, which if you're finished with your thought, I'll give my strategies. So if I'm looking at West Coast swing as 3 basic patterns, so we can make this easy. Instead of trying to remember all these patterns, you have 3 basic ones. Pushes, passes, and whips. Just keep that in your head. There's 3 basics of West Coast swing. Yes, there's 7, 8, 9, 10, whoever your teacher is, but there's 3 branches to the tree. Which is a good segue. If you want to download our pattern tree chart where you see how all of the patterns we teach relate back to that, I'll link it up here and at the end of the video in the description below. But if I'm dealing with, let's say, a left side pass, right? Because this is what I still teach in my beginner class is the first pattern because I don't have to worry about connection stuff. So this is my boring left side pass. And as we get cooler, we don't really dance that too often. But what we will do is dance an inside turn off of the left side pass. So especially as the leaders, I want you thinking of my left side passes, what things can I do? So you go, okay, I've got this left side pass, and then an inside turn is off of that left side pass, right? So even if I'm dancing some cool move in a class like this, right, I'm actually dancing a left side pass. If I look at that again, sorry, Miss Megan. I'm dancing a left side pass. Walk, walk, triple step, right? I'm just adding a turn to it. Triple step, triple step. So when you get into your class and you're seeing this move and you're trying to remember all the things, I want you to quickly, when the teacher demos the move, go, which of my 3 basics, push, pass, and a whip? It's a left side pass. Okay, that's a left side pass. Then it has a turn. Okay, well, what do I have to do for the turn? I have to prep my follower on count 2 of the turn. Cool, now you're in this position, you're learning this move. You don't have to worry about that part of learning it. You just now have to worry about, okay, in this particular move, I need to let Megan get close to me so I can tuck my arm in so I can lead that move. So instead of going, oh my God, what is this move? You're like, got it, left side pass, got it, inside turn, basic stuff. You're comfortable because you've been through Megan's class. And then now all you have to do is sort out what the technique is. For the followers, and you can chime in on this too, but for the followers, I actually want you to almost think of it in reverse. Kind of what Megan said, you need to know your basic footwork cold, right? And kind of going back to that pattern tree, and I'll use a whip for this example, right? So followers, I want you going, this is a basic whip, got it, okay? Then we have whips that have an outside turn. So we go, this is a basic whip and a single outside turn, right? So when you see this move in class, right? You're just not, you're seeing this big mess of things and going, well, how do I have to remember this? You're like, what are the rules? It's a whip, right? Hustle whip with 2 hands, but it's still a whip. All the footwork and the connections are pretty much the same, right? Obviously 2 hands, we have to manage that. But then you go, it's a whip with a single outside turn. So for the leaders, I have to start to think about like, how am I going to set my hand up to turn, yada, yada. But for the followers, I want you to practice that darn footwork till you know it cold. Because if you can do that whip with a single outside turn easily, it makes my life really easy. Me dancing with Megan, I don't have to worry about managing her. I just actually have to worry about the lead in the pattern, not, oh my God, is she on time? What foot is she on? Does she know it's a turn? Any thoughts on that, Miss Megan?
Yeah, knowing your patterns, your basic patterns is very vital, and also just having a good connection. I know I say it a lot in my videos.
Here we go.
I should always wear my Get Connected shirt, but like, if you are connected, you're gonna be able to tell what directions the leader wants you to go.
And I'm gonna jump in on that and say that is not an excuse for the followers
not to know their stuff.
To not know your stuff, right?
Agreed.
So I would say, because this happens all the time, right? Followers come in, they go, well, if the leader's good, I can dance well. Yeah, but that's a good leader who's really experienced and he's putting you on your foot and making you feel comfortable, and it's really hard.
I also wouldn't say that those people are well connected.
No,
if
but
you're well connected, you know your stuff.
Correct. At that point, once you do know all those patterns, right? You can dance all your basics. You can dance all the basic branches of the tree, inside and outside turns. That pattern tree chart will kind of explain all that. At that point, what you said is super relevant, because now we get into the higher levels of the better we're connected, the more subtle changes we can make. But to recap, make sure you know all your basic patterns. Start with a couple at a time.
Yeah, specifically for leaders, just start with a few at a time, get used to them. Add some more, get used to them, and so on and so forth. Eventually, you're gonna end up doing one of your patterns that you know, and you're gonna end up with a hand, and you're like, oh my God, I know a pattern from this hand. And it just snowballs, so you'll be fine.
And even as you put them together, because I know a lot of leaders are like engineered minded. We know them because they have the note cards after the workshops and they write down everything.
We know a lot of them.
Yeah, so they're over-indexed as dancers, so, or leaders at least. If you have to put the moves in a specific order to learn them, totally cool, right? Almost using Megan's philosophy, you go, I'm gonna put this move into this move, right? I don't know, something, you know, I'm gonna do this turn and I'm gonna do a leader's turn to change the hand, right?
He and I did totally different moves to change the hand.
Yeah, whatever, I just made it up. So, and then from here you go, okay, well, what move do I know from this? And I'll go, okay, I'll do this kissing whip move. Wow. Boom. So then in your brain as the leader, you go, all right, I'm gonna dance whatever move this is, and I'm gonna always change hands, and it's almost like a routine for you at this point, right? But to Megan's point, you go, all right, I'm gonna use this move to this move, so it's easy to remember this to this. Now you're gonna get bored, so now you're gonna wanna look at a different way to change that hand, right? So you might come up with something, I have no idea. You might have this move to change the hand, and then you go, now I have 2 branches of the tree, and I can either do my kissing whip here, right? So that way you kind of use that systematic approach until it starts to flow organically. Any final thoughts, Miss Megan?
Practice. Practice is also a good way.
It is a good way. So if you want to download that pattern tree chart, it's totally free. It's a clickable, linkable document. Megan spent about half her life creating it because there's a lot of stuff on it. You can download that right here, and we'll see you guys in the next video.